G'day guys, it's good to see you again. This is I Read Reddit, and today I'm going to be reading some Entitled Parent stories. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. I upload here daily, and if you've got the fear of missing out, then you better smash that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications. Now pull up a chair and get comfy, you're going to love this one. I'm allergic to fish and seafood. It's not the anaphylactic type of allergy, thank goodness, so I'm not going to die if I eat some, but I do throw up. I have a stomachache and a massive headache for a few hours when I do. Enough fish and seafood and I break out in small hot red hives over my arms. My mother didn't believe it, and as a child I couldn't stand up to her properly. She'd force me to eat stuff with seafood or fish in it to prove that I wasn't allergic, then ignore me as I was sick. One day she held a dinner party. I was dressed up beautifully and trotted out to parade before the guests. At the time I was around 9, precocious for my age, and absolutely fed up with my mother making me sick. When she held out a fish cutlet, fish cooked with vegetables rolled into a bowl, covered in batter and fried, for me to eat, I saw my chance. I said loudly, "I can't eat that, I'm allergic to fish." My mother says, "No you're not, eat it." "I'm allergic, I'll throw up." No Asian mother will back down in front of guests, for fear of looking like she can't discipline her child. My mother grabbed the fish cutlet, shoved it into my mouth, and said the most firm voice, the command of "eat." So I ate it. Cut to about 10 minutes later, I go up to my mother and tug on her sari to get attention. "I don't feel well, blah." I vomited on her, on the expensive carpet, and in full view of all the guests. My mother has a reputation for being a kind, generous, charitable, and very religious woman, so in front of all the guests, she couldn't do anything except act sympathetic and send me off to bed to recover. She never made me eat fish or seafood again. Quick note that will be relevant later. I have something called pedophobia. No, it's not a fear of pedophiles. Not scared of that, would probably just kick them as hard as possible. But fear of infants and toddlers. I can typically handle seeing them around, but the second a child tries to interact, or I have to be responsible for one, I get all panicky. It gets really bad when I have to take care of one. Okay, so, when I first moved to Switzerland, my mother worked very hard to make some friends, and one of her closest friends was a couple with 2 kids. One was 6 and the other was 4. They came over quite often, and usually brought their kids. I could avoid them easily by curling up on the couch or going to my room. My mum knows about my fear, so she was always pretty okay with me avoiding them. Then we started getting problems. I was a freshman in high school, and the parents asked me to babysit their kids for a night while they went out to a dinner. I politely explained that no, I really didn't want to, and told them about my fear. They were kind of annoyed, but found another sitter for that night. Not even 2 weeks later, they asked me to babysit again, and I declined, telling them the same thing that I had said last time. The mum was considerably more angry this time, but left it alone. This continued for a month or 2, them asking me to babysit and me declining, for all the reasons above. Then sometime in March, the mum is over with my mum, and they're talking about going out for lunch. The kids were in the game room where I kept my computer and PS4 and stuff, which was nice because they were out of the way. "Say, Anon, would you please look after my kids while me and your mother go out for lunch?" "Oh, I'm sorry, but I really don't feel comfortable doing that." "She gets very panicky around kids." "Oh, she really shouldn't." "Why don't you just bring them along?" "She is in high school, she should be over this dumb fear by now." "Look, I've explained this multiple times now that you owe me this. You owe it to me. Look, I'll pay it for you. $5. We'll only be gone for 2 or 3 hours. Don't be so rude. You've always used that same excuse." No, you can just bring the kids with us. I'm sure they'll have fun." "No, Anon needs to do this for me. She is always such a brat about this and never does anything for me and my kids. I just want 2 hours. That's not much to ask." "For the last time, no." "Okay, why don't we just go have lunch here then? We can make coffee and I can heat up the pastries I have in the fridge." "Okay, fine, whatever. Will you at least watch them while I run to the store with your mum so we can get some more coffee mix?" Oh, yeah, that sounds fine. We'll be 30 minutes, okay, honey?" "Yeah, okay." At this point I just wanted to appease her, and hope that the kids will just shut up and stay in the game room. "Oh, thank you so much." So they go off and do their thing. Then it's 45 minutes and I'm feeling a little panicky when my mum calls. She says she's coming home. I can barely hear what she's saying. She's talking over her car speaker, and I can hear the entitled mum pretty much screaming in the background. My mum was ticked. Apparently, the entitled mum had taken her out to the store and offered to drive back, only to take my mum to a fancy restaurant and say they had a reservation. When my mum reminded her of me, the entitled mum started getting pee and said that they needed to get over my fear and that I had to babysit her kids because of all the times that I'd turned her down. The entitled mum openly admitted that she had made lunch reservations and manicure appointments at a nail salon nearby. She was going to leave me with her kids for about 3 or 4 hours without telling me, without leaving them food, or without any prior warning, even when I said no. So my mum dragged her back to the car, drove back to our house, kicked her and her kids out, and never invited her over again. TLDR, I have a fear of kids, and even when I say no to babysitting, an entitled mother tries to trick me into babysitting by saying she'll make a 30-minute trip with my mum that ended up having lunch reservations and nail appointments. It's my first time posting here, and I'm no native speaker, but here we go. My mum has made a few friends while being pregnant with me, and so most of my friends are my age. One of these friends got a little brother who got something like Asperger's. Until his birth, the mother was fine, and I spent a bunch of the summer over at my friend's. Around the time that I was 10 years old, this changed. My friend's mother went from nice mum to entitled mum in a record-breaking time of just 1 week, and by this I really mean from one extreme to the other. I knew her my whole life, and she was very kind and had always had ice cream. Every time I was at my friend's house, she picked on both of us until we left, because we interrupted her little prince's sleep. We just watched some Laurel and Hardy. It's a silent film for crying out loud. So I started to spend more time over at my place. It was last summer when our story played out. I just got accepted at a university to start my studying on computer science. Since my mother is very close with the entitled mother, she knew about it. That evening we had a little party because my dad turned 50, and of course, the mum and the kid were invited too. Note that the kid was around 9 years old at this time. The dialogue went something like this. I'm sitting down at the grown-ups table and messaging with my girlfriend from time to time. The kid sees me unlocking my smartphone with the fingerprint and says, "Hey, how did you do this?" Oh, my smartphone recognized my thumb. Wow, that's cool. Does it recognize mine as well? No, it only knows my fingers. But I want to unlock your smartphone with my thumb too. Sorry, but usually I don't let other people use my phone beside my girlfriend. But I want to. The kid took off, and I hoped that would be it. Even though deep down I knew it wasn't. And otherwise, I wouldn't tell you this story. Around 5 minutes later, the kid came back with the mum. My kid just said you wouldn't let him use your phone. Yeah, I wouldn't let the entitled kid save his fingerprints in my phone. That way he can't unlock it every time he has it. And I don't have any slots free for him anyway. On my phone, you can only save up to 4 fingerprints. And these were the thumbs of my girlfriend and mine. Oh, that's rubbish. You know, the entitled kid is so long. You can trust him. Me knowing that I can't trust this kid replies, yeah, but I've still got only 4 slots. Man, these are already filled. Oh my god, that is such a lame excuse. But can't you just set this up on his phone? Okay, sure, why not? I was surprised that a 9-year-old had already had a smartphone, but whatever, it was the entitled mum's little prince. The entitled kid gave me his phone. I checked the settings to find out that his phone wasn't that new and hadn't had a fingerprint sensor in the home button. I'm sorry, it seems that your phone doesn't support fingerprints. The entitled kid starts letting loose his first tears. What? Why? But I'm sure you can do something. Apparently Samsung didn't build this into his phone. Yours has it. I bought mine half a year ago. Well, this has to be at least 2 years old. I know you're starting computer science. There must be a way you can fix this. CS is right, but in software development. Nothing with hardware. But I didn't bother trying to explain that to the entitled mum. She wouldn't understand at all. The one thing you can do is buy him a new phone. I can support you with this if you wish. The entitled mum a bit more aggressively says, no thanks. It would be enough if you do that on his phone. You could remove your fingerprint sensor and build it into his phone. I'm surprised by the lack of understanding, and I say, that's not how it works. Entitled kid's crying the whole time. Mummy, I want this. Do you hear him? He deserves it. Make it work. Yeah, he's pretty annoying, and if you excuse me, I have to leave now. After this, I left for my girlfriend's without a comment. The next day, I told my dad about this, and since he has a great understanding of how this works, we had a great laugh about it. I know that everyone working in this field has at least one similar story. At the time of this story, I was 10 years old and I was at Disney World for my birthday. It was going to rain, so my dad agreed to let me meet one or more characters before we could go into a shop to wait out the storm. Florida has loads of 10-minute storms, by the way. I chose Mary from the Aristocrats. I'd never seen the movie, but I had a Marie stuffed animal. The line is quite long, but hey, it was my 10th birthday. So me and my dad are in line behind a woman and her daughter. LG, the little girl, was about 7 years old. The girl is whining and tugging on her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, why is it taking so long? I want to see the kitty." "I know, honey. You will see the kitty soon." I look over my shoulder and I see a young girl in a wheelchair that allowed her to lie down. I consider myself a friendly person and I love making new friends, so I wave at the little girl. She smiles at me and I notice that she is wearing a makeup Wish shirt, and so is the rest of the family. I quickly understand the situation and I'm glad as I see her making her way to the front of the line. Suddenly, the entitled mom turns around and looks at my dad, rolling her eyes. Sometimes I wish that my daughter was like that so we can skip the lines." "Excuse me," my dad said. "You know, it would be so nice to have an excuse to go to the front." My dad was extremely offended because his uncle had cerebral palsy, my uncle's wife had spina bifida, and my dad's favorite cousin died of cystic fibrosis. He turned away from her and started having a conversation with me to change the subject, but the entitled mother was not done. "Sir, you're being very rude ignoring us." My dad continues to ignore her. "Maybe if your daughter was like that, then you wouldn't understand that it's a blessing in disguise." Absolutely not. My dad was furious. He continued to ignore her and she eventually gave up, finishing the conversation. All I have to say is that I hope the sick little girl is in peace and that the little brat has learned how to act from someone other than her own mother. Hey guys, I read Reddit here. For more juicy content just like that, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!